Hello everyone, I'm live to read a few passages from Sertilanga's The Intellectual Life, Its Spirit, Conditions, Methods, which is a book written in the early 20th century on, as the title says, how one should comport oneself in order to pursue one's intellectual projects. I'm reading from page 126. A real thinker brings a very different spirit to his work. He is carried along by the instinct of a conqueror, by an urge, an enthusiasm, an inspiration that all are heroic. A hero does not stand still or set himself limits. He looks on one victory as a rehearsal for another. With unfailing vigor, he makes flight after flight, closes with an adversary, turns round on another, and only in death sees the end of his career. We must always seek, always endeavor. Nature makes the wilderness flower anew, the star to shine, the water to flow down slopes, round obstacles into empty places, dreaming of the sea that waits its yonder, and which it may at last reach. Creation in every one of its stages is continuous aspiration. The mind, which is potentially all things, can of itself no more limit its ideal forms than the natural forms of which they are a reflection. Death will set the limit, and so will our own inadequacy. Let us at least have the courage to flee the frontiers marked out by laziness. Infinity lying before us demands infinity in our desire to correct, as far as may be, the gradual failure of our powers. Writes Sertilangas on the heroic spirit that must guide the intellectual who is a free intellectual, free from institutional constraints. So I highly recommend this book to all my fellow travelers and free scholars, as I've come to refer to ourselves as we pursue our independent projects, and also to make this our life work. Here's another sentence I would like to present to you from Sertilangas. But there is something else still more important than just focusing on one's project, which is to submit not only to the discipline of work, but to the discipline of truth. And I do wonder whether certain institutions are today pursuing truth, or are at all interested in truth, or not. And here's another beautiful passage, what Sertilangas has to say on academics. Flee those minds that can never rise above their academic rules, that are the slaves of their work instead of doing it in the fullness of light. It is a mark of inferiority, plainly in contradiction with an intellectual vocation, to allow oneself to be tied down by narrow prescriptions and to have one's mind benumbed into bookish forms. Such are those pretended workers who are out of their element in any higher region, in face of any broad horizon, and who would like to reduce others to their narrow, elementary school orthodoxy. It is the mark of genius to see in one's work what will not go into it, in books what they cannot express. The real treasure of a great book is what is between the lines. It suggests, it makes one reflect that nothing is foreign to the deepest thoughts of man. And one last passage on the matter of reading. And of course he warns against novels, for the novel poisons the mind. And of course he also warns against newspapers. To be consuming the news is actually for him just laziness. But here's what's most important, he says. I sum up what I want to say with regard to reading. Never read when you can reflect. Read only except in moments of recreation. What concerns the purpose you are pursuing. And read little, so as not to eat up your interior silence, which is perhaps the most important exercise, is to uphold one's interior silence in order to fulfill the project that one has, the vocation that one feels to have, and that one wants to pursue regardless of any honors or any immediate feedback or comments or approval or recognition. So I highly recommend the book to all you free scholars who might be looking for ways to carve out a life that is intellectual. I quote someone from within an institution who once said that he would never have thought how little intellectual his life actually is, and it's very possible to do this outside any of the official institutions. And it is, I think, as Herzeti Lange says, it's possible with only 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day reserved to one's study. So with this, I shall leave you. I wish you all the best. And if you have any book recommendations yourself, for example, please just leave a comment. As always, thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Bye.